People are quick to blame and quick to shame, but what makes someone innocent or immoral? Does the way we're raised have an effect on whether we make good or bad decisions? I believe the most important question for humans to answer is, are people inherently good or evil? This is because the answer shapes how we go about our lives and whether we believe people have good intentions or bad. Some people argue that humans are naturally good. An article from BBC utilizes a study done by Yale to support that babies are drawn to good over bad. The study is done as a sort of puppet show, however, they were shapes rather than human-like puppets. One shape is climbing the hill but struggling, and another is helping. After the show, the babies are given the chance to choose a shape, and more often than not, the infants choose the helper. While this study is helpful, it doesn't fully answer the question, although there is no way to prove whether we are good or evil. But it raises another question. What is right and wrong, and who gets to decide what's what? Everybody has differing opinions and belief systems. If you take any two people and ask them about anything, they will have different ideas. So how can we even begin to determine what's right and wrong, let alone if humans are inherently good or evil? Most monotheists would argue that it's up to God, but there are so many different versions of God even within the same religion. For instance, in Christianity, there are so many different denominations and interpretations of God in the Bible. Some believe that God is more like the ruthless God of the Old Testament, whereas others believe he is more of the loving God of the New Testament. While this question has so much depth, society makes it seem black and white. For example, in most movies and books, there's a distinct good versus evil conflict. There is little to no overlap of the two sides unless one converts to the opposite side, but once that happens, there appears to be no way back. There are, however, exceptions to this. One of these is the movie Princess Bride. In this movie, the main boy, Wesley, leaves home and is believed to die, but actually becomes a pirate, which is often seen as a bad guy. However, he saves the main girl, Buttercup, from the king, who is typically seen as the good guy. This movie didn't specifically help me find an answer to my question, but it supported the claim that good and evil isn't a black and white subject. Similarly, the poem I read, Good versus Evil by Carl Griffiths, also did not directly help answer my question, but it examined the idea of good and evil. The gist of it was that it was up to us whether we were good or evil, and the fate of the world was in our hands. It had a very hero we feel to it. It was basically saying that people were neither inherently good nor evil, but that it was one's decision entirely. On the contrary, quite a few people believe that humans are naturally evil. Megan Sprance, the author of an article on The Digital Voice, believes that we all have evil inside of us, and it's up to us whether or not we succumb to it. This could be slightly twisted to say that if you succumb to it, you are fundamentally evil, but if you don't, you're good. However, that would mean people are neither genetically good nor evil. Another take on this is from certain denominations of Christianity, such as Lutherans. They believe that when God originally created people, they were good, but Adam and Eve's actions created original sin, which is passed down through the father. In addition to this, they believe that when babies are born, they are blind, deaf, and an enemy of God, and an enemy of God is evil. In the book Fallen by Lauren Kate, the main character, Luce, is sent to a reform school and is a psycho. The characters she meets at the school came for various reasons, but they are on medicine that's supposed to fix them. The book seems to support the idea that people are, by birth, evil rather than good, and their problems need to be fixed before the evil totally overpowers them. Personally, I align with the inherently good side of things. People have good hearts. Not some people, not most people, but all people have good hearts. The bad things that people do are not because they have a bad heart, it's because they're misguided or uninformed or just truly don't know better. Even if people are genetically evil, it's not our place to determine what/who is good and bad. If it were, maybe we could know whether people are inevitably loving or hateful. Because it's not, I believe that it's better to walk through life assuming that everyone is good rather than evil. My parents always told me that I shouldn't go around assuming the worst in people. So if someone does something that doesn't seem right to me, it's easier for me to move on without having a bitter taste left in my mouth because I don't know the whole story. This doesn't mean that I think all actions are justified. It just means I think there's a motive behind these actions that we can't always see without twisting them to fit into our own story. A lot of times in society, people in power do this to make themselves come across as better people than their opponents, even if they've done some questionable things themselves. The research project didn't have a huge role in shaping my views, but it did challenge me to look at things in a new light, particularly the ideas coming from denominations of Christianity different than my own. It seems odd to me that there can be so many different views within the same religion. The Lutheran concepts I mentioned are quite contrary to the Mennonite ones I've been raised with, yet they both go back to the same scriptures. In conclusion, there is no definite answer to the question, are people inherently good or evil? I think we can all agree that there's some bad and some good in the world, but the things we consider pure or corrupt is where the differences come. Some things are based on how we're raised and what we learn, but some things seem to be based on elements out of our control. The problem is we are quick to blame, but we can't guilt everything on human nature.